viewers, welcome back to English B Honeysuckle Unit 8. We have already discussed the first and the second stanza of the poem Vocation in the first part. In today's class, we will be discussing the remaining part of the poem, that is the third stanza. As always, here are a few points for you to note. Recalling the previous class, explanations of keywords and expressions, comprehension questions with answers, summary of the stanza discussed, the poetic devices used, and the message in the poem. Now, recalling the previous lesson. The poem under discussion is originally written in Bengali named Bichitra Sad or Wishes Manifold. The poem is also known as I Wish I Were. The persona wishes to become a street hawker to sell crystal bangles. He even envies the gardener when he sees him soiling his clothes without being punished. The persona has to follow strict rules at home and in school. He is often subjected to getting punished by his parents when making a mistake. Naturally, he wishes to become those persons he feels happier than he. Now let's read the third stanza of the poem. Just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother sends me to bed, I can see through my open window the watchman walking up and down. The lane is dark and lonely, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. The watchman swings his lantern and walks with his shadow at his side, and never once goes to bed in his life. I wish I were a watchman, walking the street all night, chasing the shadows with my lantern. Key words and expressions that we have come across in the stanza are walking up and down, giant, swings his lantern, walks with his shadow, and chasing the shadows. Let us explain them. Walking up and down, it means walk at a steady speed, walk to and fro. Giant, it means a mythical being of superhuman size. Swings his lantern, it means sways his lantern or moves his lantern from side to side. Walks with his shadow, it means as he walks against the light, it appears as if his shadow is also walking with him. Chasing the shadows, it means pursuing the shadows. Here is a set of questions with answers to comprehend the ideas contained in the stanza just read out. What does the persona see through the window when he sees the movement of the night watchman through the window at night when he is sent to bed? 2. What does the persona feel at this moment? Why? The persona wants to walk the street freely like the watchman. He does not want anybody to force him to go to bed. 3. Explain chasing the shadow. As the watchman walks the road with his shadow ahead of him, it appears that he is chasing the shadow. As the watchman walks the road with his shadow beside him, it appears that he is chasing the shadow. Every step he takes, the shadow too moves forward. 4. The child is innocent. How will you justify the stand? The persona wants to lead the life of a night watchman because he is completely unaware of the stark reality behind his hard job. This proves his innocence. 5. How does the persona describe the street lamp? The persona describes the street lamp as a giant with one red eye in its head. Here is the summary of the stanza just discussed. At night, mother asks the child to sleep in his room with an open window. From there, he notices the watchman walking up and down the dark, lonely street with a lamp in his hand that appears to him like a superhuman with a red eye in its head. He sways his lamp from one side to another with his shadow visible on his side while he walks. The child thinks that the watchman has never slept at night all through his life. He is so charmed with the watchman's movement that he wishes to be a watchman who is free to walk all night in the streets, running after his shadows with a lantern in hand. The poetic devices used in this poem are alliteration, imagery, onomatopoeia, repetition and simile. We shall discuss them in an alphabetical order. Alliteration. It is a poetic technique where consonant sounds at the beginning of two or more words succeed each other immediately or at a close interval. For example, she sells seashells on the seashore. In this poem we have come across words like gate, garden, digging, ground, all ga sound. He, his, her sound. Takes, to, task, ta sound. Now the lines from the poem. A. I can see through the gate the gardener digging the ground. Repetition of the consonant sound g. B. He does what he likes with his spade. He soils his clothes. Repetition of the consonant sound h. C. nobody takes him to task. Repetition of the consonant sound ta. Imagery. It's a language used by the poets or writers to create images in the mind of the readers. Two types of imagery are used: visual, that is to see, and auditory, that is to hear. A. The lane is dark and lonely. The street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in his head. It is a visual imagery. B. When the gong sounds 10 in the morning, it is an auditory imagery. Onomatopoeia. What does it mean? It means sound echoing the sense. Examples. The bullet whizzed past the soldier's ear. He fell with a thud. The snake hissed. And in this poem, the gong sounds 10. The word gong is an onomatopoeic word formed from the sound associated with it. Repetition. It is a poetic device in which a word or a set of words is repeated 2 or more times. In this poem, we have got the words bangles, crystal bangles. These words are repeated to create images in our mind of the hawker. The words no and nobody are repeated for emphasis. Simile. It is a literary device that makes a direct comparison between two things. Examples. The street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. The street lamp is directly compared to a giant using the word like. Now, the message in the poem. The poem throws light on how young children were treated at home and in school in Tagore's time. Does the situation still prevail? Well, the answer is to some extent. Little change has taken place so far. Imposed discipline in schools and strict rules at home make a sweet child a caged bird. He feels stifled and is psychologically affected by the harsh treatment. So, parents and teachers must be lenient in dealing with the little birds in their blossoming into beautiful flowers. Much is for today. This is the end of Unit 8. We'll be back with the new lesson in the next class.